Hello and welcome to another Gospel Project video. This week our Gospel Project story comes from either John 20 or Luke 24, or really most of the Gospels have some form of these accounts of the post-resurrection appearances of Jesus to his 12 disciples. So last week we talked about Jesus meeting these two disciples on the road to a town called Emmaus, and how that was kind of one of these moments of him appearing after his resurrection. Today we're diving more into the actual moments where he's interacting with what we know are the 11 remaining apostles. And so how the story goes is after the crucifixion, the disciples are kind of afraid and they're hiding together in an upstairs room. Doors are locked, windows are closed, that whole thing is happening. And Jesus, being Jesus, just shows up, walks through the wall, shows up and is in the room. And the interactions are all kind of the same, of like they're scared it's a ghost, they don't really know what's going on. Jesus is going to eat, he's going to let them see the nails in his hands and the hole in his side and these kinds of things. It's like, hey, like this is proof, like physical, tangible proof that I am who I said I was. I came to do what I said I was going to do, and I've accomplished it. And here is here's what's going on. You have this is the story where you have Thomas is not there the first time this happens, and so Thomas shows up after it happens, and they're like, hey, Jesus is back, we saw him. And this is where Thomas gets his name, Doubting Thomas, where he's like, unless I can put my hand in the holes in his hand, in his finger, in his hands, and if I can, put my hand in his side where that hole is, I won't believe. And then about 8 days later, Jesus shows up again. Thomas is there, and Jesus kind of like, here, like, give it a shot. And at that moment, Thomas is like, hey, like, no, I believe, like, I believe. And Jesus it's kind of a rebuke and kind of not where he says, like, hey, you believe because you've seen and you can touch. How blessed are those people who are going to be who don't have that benefit. And then in each of these encounters, there is what I would call like a pre-commissioning, especially in the Gospel of John, where we're not quite to the Great Commission yet, but it's Jesus coming and reminding the disciples that the mission isn't over, that he was sent for a purpose, and that likewise he is going to send them out for a purpose. So they're kind of getting ready for that. And there's Jesus, from what we can tell, Jesus has about 40 days of these post-resurrection appearances before he's going to ascend back up into heaven. And so there's just the Bible is kind of recording some of these instances, not all of them, but Jesus is going to spend some time. The final things that he wants to teach the disciples, proving again that he's alive and that he's defeated death, and just kind of getting them ready, like, hey, there is still a mission to come. It's coming, be ready. And the next week what we'll talk about is the actual Great Commission and that kind of final mission that Jesus sends his disciples out on to spread the gospel. So that's the story this week, just kind of narrative proof in the gospel stories that Jesus was alive, that he rose from the dead and came and proved himself to those who knew him best, people who would know he's not an imposter, that it's the guy that they spent 3 years walking around with. And the big idea today that we were really going to focus on is that Jesus, showed himself to the disciples to prove that he was alive and to remind them of the mission that was still to come. And yeah, so that was kind of where we were going to go this week with the Gospel Project. As always, we've got some resources on our website that you can download to teach these stories to your kids, to activity pages for them to color and kind of interact with. We've got discussion questions there as well, all in the hopes that you will take this material and you will be teaching these stories to your kids at home. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving this week, and until I see you again in person or in the next video, God bless.